lost another one today. Or Tara's like, yep, lost another one this week. I mean, she's lost 15, 20 since she's gotten out. People she's known in her 20 years. Trevor's probably right up in that area too. He did 3 or 4 tours in his 10 years. And it's, you don't plan it usually. People just are driving and they drive off to a dead end road and, grab their sidearm that they're carrying or that's in their glove box and boom, it's over that quick. I've sold guns to 4 people that I know have used them on themselves down the road because their families come down and call me up and ask if I want to buy them back or what to do with them afterwards and stuff. So, but yeah, it's a tough job to be in. I mean, with Chuck, I don't know if that's happened to you or not. I mean, we've stopped a bunch of them. People come in, I don't care what I buy, I just want a shotgun, just a couple shells. I just got some rabbits I need to kill. Yeah, not today. That's not happening. I've taken guns from people that, have come to the shop to do it at our shop. And I'm like, yeah, you're not getting this gun back. We're keeping it. Because they want an audience or something, or they just want someone to talk to. I've hired vets just because I know they needed someone to talk to. And I'm like, you just got to come back tomorrow. Just come back tomorrow and hang out with us. And she hates that, but because then I won't fire him. So she has to fire him down the road. Because it's just, but it is what it is. It's the 22 a day thing is tough. And the VEA is not helping lately. The whole PACT Act, when that came through, for those of us that know what that is, everybody was super happy and it was going to help everybody out and stuff. And now it's just like anything else. Chuck's shaking his head. Yep, it's just a crock of shit. Everybody thought they were going to get the help they needed and stuff, and now it's like, yeah, same thing as my dad went through with Agent Orange. He's 76 and still going through the same stuff with Agent Orange. He's actually still alive. So, same thing with the PACT Act and the Afghanistan, Iraq, Persian Gulf, same thing. So,
Dan, I appreciate it. We're going to bring this in for a landing, and I'm going to ask you up here to what we had the first folks say. If there's one thing you want to kind of leave people with tonight, we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about a lot of things, and just what's the one thing maybe in your mind that you want to leave as a parting thought to our audience, not only here but who'll be watching later? Anybody got one first, and then I'll go down the line. Yeah, Chuck.
The biggest thing that, since I've started working with Gene, I've learned a lot about suicide prevention. And the biggest thing to take away from it is you could tell someone that it's okay to not be okay. And people don't always know that. We always say that the Safe Storage Initiative is a judgment-free zone. I don't care why you're doing it. I'm not your therapist. I'm here to help you limit access to means. And so if you're not okay and you need to talk, I'll listen, but I'm not licensed for that. But it is okay to not be okay. And if people become more accepting of mental health issues and understand that you can't always control it, I think we'll be leaps and bounds ahead of where we are now.
Thanks. Sidini.
I just want to reiterate how important it is we work together. For so many years, I just watched the gun industry stand on the other side of the room, on the mental health side, on one, over there, and it's like we're never, while we're battling this whole thing out, people are dying, and people are living unhealthy, and people have access to firearms, and there's a lot of miscommunication, but you don't have to compromise on your values to work together with another group that has some other ideas, because you might not have the idea or they might not have the idea, but together it might spark the brain that comes up with the idea. And if in 2018, if you'd have told me that there would be a cultural shift in the firearms industry to now be some of the leaders in the space, I would have said no way, but it exists and it's happened. So we just got to keep working together. we got to stop dividing the country when it comes to this stuff. Yes, like, you know, we have our belief system on what works, and the other side, the opposition, has theirs. But like I said, there are things in there that are not compromises, but there are solutions to get resources to gun owners to keep them healthy without rights restriction, and we just need to tap into that. So.
Mike Eschinger.
You nailed it, man. I mean, like, you nailed it. Like, the biggest thing I can say is you got to learn to listen really well to somebody. And when I mean listen, not listen to what they say, but listen to their scenario, listen to their circumstances. Your only chance sometimes of getting in between something is recognizing, using your gut, man. Most of the time, I've done a lot of post-mortem investigations on suicides, and being educated like I have, I'm always like, oh yeah, that's actually a thing. You don't want to make judgment on people. But listening to the subtle things, to the lack of a social media presence if somebody usually has a social media presence, to some people are naturally grumpy, man. It's hard to like catch a naturally grumpy person and be like, wow, you're unnaturally extra grumpy today, you know, because that's their thing. But know what they love. Your friends, your family, your people around you, and pay attention to little things. And when your gut says, well, that seems funny, pull that thread. Always pull that thread. That's your chance, is to pull the thread, that tiny little thread. Listen, that's my one takeaway.
Thank you. Debbie.
I want to throw a little bit of a good news thing onto this. When I started doing mental health education in the community, it's over 20 years ago. Wow. But I'll tell you, I would go to health fairs and things like that, and I would put up all my materials about mental illness and mental health and suicide prevention, and I could show you the swath of path that people would take all the way around my booth. They did not want to stop. They didn't want to pick anything up if I was standing there. Oh, you might ask me questions. You might think I'm sick. You might think I'm crazy. You know? And it's changed so much, right, Jean? It has changed so much that people now come up and tell you their stories. But we're still not there. There's still that stigma, there's still that fear, and we need to be careful. We need to, like you said, we need to listen, we need to pay attention. It's not just what a person says, but how they say it, when they say it, why they say it sometimes. And another thing we need to be careful of too is you could be with somebody that's been going through a really rough time for quite a while, and all of a sudden, the next time you see them, they're very calm, they're very happy. It's not necessarily because they're feeling better. It could be because they've made a decision and they're comfortable with it. And I'll tell you, it's, if you don't mind if I can tell a quick
Please,
story.
yeah.
When I was still working, when Aspira still had their behavioral health unit, that's where I was working. And we had a patient one time, and she allowed me to share this story. She had lost her job. She and her husband were going through a lot of financial difficulties and everything like that. And they were fighting a lot. Things weren't going well. And the kids were getting, the kids picked up on it. So the whole family was kind of a disarray and kind of at each other a lot. And she was blaming herself 100%. Because she couldn't find a job at the time, and she thought everything was her fault, and she was being a mom and everything, she was piling it all on herself. So one day she sent the kids off to school. Her husband went to his job, and she decided that she was going to take care of things. She said, being the mom I am, I went to the grocery store, and because I wanted to make sure the cupboards were filled and everything like that. And so she got to the grocery store, and as she got out of the car, her coat got caught in the door. And she's fumbling around, and she's upset and everything. She's fumbling around. These two girls from this college, actually, came up to her and said, "Hey, are you okay?" And because she was tangled up and everything. So they helped her. And they were kind of joking around with her on their way in. "Oh, yeah, we've done that," and had a conversation. And she's telling me the story, and the tears are starting to run down her face. I'm like, oh, wow, what's going on here? So she went into the store, and the girls went their way, she went hers, and she's in the cart, pushing her cart. And she's going down one aisle, and ladies, if you have purses like my mother's, she had it on top of the cart, and she hit it, and it tipped over, and stuff just went flying everywhere. And these two girls happened to come along again, and helped her pick everything up. And one of them, she said, even got down on their hands and knees and looking under stuff to make sure we didn't lose any. I wasn't missing anything. And they were so helpful to her. And they went to the checkout together. And the three of them were sitting there talking and everything. And they even offered to help her carry her groceries to her car. And they just saw how flustered she was and just thought she was having a bad day, probably. But she said that she got home, she put the groceries away, she grabbed a 6-pack of beer and her husband's rifle, threw them in the back seat. And she got to the end of the driveway. I still get it. But she got to the end of the driveway and she told me, I had a decision to make. I was going to turn right and go into the woods, have a couple beers and say goodbye, or I was going to bring myself here. And she said, I kept thinking about those 2 girls and how important they made me feel and how wonderful they made me feel for just that little bit. And you know what? I drove myself to the emergency room here. And you'd be so surprised when you tell the security people that you've got a gun in the back of the car, how fast they move. But she ended up a patient on our unit, and she got help. And she went on to be, very healthy, happy lady. She checked in on us once in a while. And she said, please share this story. But be kind to each other. It doesn't take anything. To share a smile, to give somebody a nod, a wave, just to let them know they exist. Let them know that you're thinking about them. It's really what's important. And that little act of kindness, this little bitty act of kindness can save a life. And we all need to remember that. It doesn't take anything, and you may not know ever if you did that, but it's good to know that you did. So be there for each other.
Wow, I can't think of a better way to end this. Wow, thank you to the panelists up here, to those who started off today, those in the audience, just to all the organizational support that we received to tell this series, and we're continuing to tell it. This is an important subject, beyond important, and I feel like this night marks a moment for us, and for the state of Wisconsin and people who are interested in this issue. So I just feel so blessedly fortunate to really have met all these people and to work with them over the course of the last year through Marquette. Chuck, did you have one thing for us?
I just want to say thank you.
Yes, definitely.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because you took what is an incredibly volatile subject and truly reported as a reporter should, looking at all angles. So thank you very much for everything you have done.
Thank you. That means a lot. I just feel like it's just been a labor of love, and I just really feel so fortunate to have earned all your trust, I guess, and just be able the honor to tell your stories. So thank you, everyone, and let's keep the conversation going. And we're gonna have the drawing. Actually, the drawing is gonna happen for the giveaways in the audience here. Okay, that's good. That's good. We do big one last, I guess.
Okay. So, Martha, you want to just hold something up and we'll... Got lots of nice things from, one of them and some other gun dealers.
Dan?
As much as we're gun owners and we like guns, we're not getting them. This was from Singers and Slingers. This is the Senate page and if you have a ticket that ends the last 3 digits of 837.
837. There we go. Here, I can.
and they are $75 gift certificates for, like,
My wife would for gun cleaning, but, you know, whatever.
whatever. Okay, there's 3 of them. So the first one will be 838.
Thanks, Jimmy. Yep, Jimmy.
Second one will be 847. And the next one will be 840.
All right. A pair of ears. Some ears.
Protection, ear protection. Oh, folks, I'm going to introduce Tracy. She is the executive director of NAMI Northwood.
Yay.
We work together quite often here, so. And our last, eye protection and the hat, is ear protection, or, okay, ear protection. 845.
There we go.
I guess they're very soundproof, so you don't have to use them, you don't have to listen to your husband. Again, thank you all so much for being here with us tonight and being part of this. You just help us get the word out. We're hoping to work with a lot of local and northern Wisconsin firearms dealers and shops to get involved in the project as well. So thank you again.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. And we'll just hang out. We've got some more food and drink out there, and let's keep the conversation going. Thanks so much.